Welcome to Acts Christian Church, where you're the head and not the tail.
The year of Thanksgiving.
Welcome. Thank you for your patience. You know the internet. It sometimes bring out gremlins. But you know something? We're really grateful for the technician. Austin's here. You know how good he is. He works behind the scene. He does not give up. Does that sound like somebody you know? Well, he's done it. And so we're able to be here and to bring this broadcast to you. So I want to thank you so much for your patience. Yeah, we're slightly late. But I guarantee you what you're going to hear tonight is going to be mind-blowing. And I'm really grateful that I'm able to take a step like this and broadcast this such an important subject. Now look, I've got some great people in the studio. You can see them. I want to introduce you to them, but I just want to take a little time. I'm dealing with the issue of prostate cancer. And it's quite alarming in our community. 1 in 4. I ain't going to go any further, but I want you to do me a favor. I want you at this moment to share this information. Get on your phones. This is your time to be an evangelist. Share it. Tell somebody you don't want to miss this. If you know a group of men playing dominoes or doing something at this moment and you know they're huddled together, text them. Tell them, share this with them. It's going to be life-changing. You know what? I've got professionals with me as well. That's what's making the difference. I've got professionals. And I've been learning. I think as we're about to go forward, I need to say thank you to Bishop Ola, Bishop Stella, who introduced me to the awareness of prostate cancer. They called me and I said, you know, this is great. Let's work together. So this would not have happened if the two bishops wouldn't have introduced me to these great people. Now, just a few more seconds, allowing you to come on. Tonight is going to open your mind like never before. So come on. Bear with us. Tell somebody we're dealing with the area of prostate cancer, especially in our community and of wide. Okay? We're almost there. Share this link. Share this link. Okay, let's go for this. It's a real issue at this moment and have been for some time. And I'm grateful that we're able to take a step like this. So in the studio, you can see with me Dr. Masood and Nurse Finola. I done it.
You did it.
Beautiful name. And it's been amazing of the education, how they've educated me concerning prostate cancer. But we also got somebody on the line, the Professor Nick James. And he couldn't be with us today, but again, because of technology, we've asked him to ring in. And so I'm hoping you can hear the information coming at this moment via phone. So are you online, Professor Nick James?
Yes, I am, and I could hear all of that very clearly, so hopefully you can hear me speaking now.
Excellent, that's fantastic. I'm going to ask you before I ask our Dr. Finola to talk to us. Tell us, what is the issue out there?
So the broad issue is where you started from, which is that prostate cancer is the commonest cancer in men and the second commonest cancer killer in men. And but more significantly, and one of the particular reasons we were keen to reach out to you and your congregation, is that if you're black, you're twice as likely to get prostate cancer as if you're white.
Really?
So the overall rate in the general population is 1 in 8, but in men of African origin, it's 1 in 4. But not only are you more likely to get it, you're more likely to die from it if you get it, because black men tend to present later than white men. So all in all, it adds up to a very big risk to your congregation's health. And so these facts have been very well known for many years, and there's been various attempts to try and redress this. And so the Man Van project, which you're going to hear about this evening, is one of these. And this has quite a long backstory to it. So prior to working at the Royal Marsden, I worked in Birmingham for many years. And around 2012, 2013, a chap called Johnny Who trundled into my clinic. And Johnny's Jamaican origin. And he said, I'll get some of my mates to come and do a concert for you. He was a musician. And he was being very understated. So his mates included a fantastic jazz saxophonist called Courtney Pine, who many of you may have heard of. Johnny himself had played at events like Nelson Mandela's birthday party with a drummer. He was just the most fantastic guy. And his story was that he'd been having problems passing water for a while prior to ending up in my clinic. And he'd ended up unable to pass water, and because the cancer in his prostate had grown and blocked the outflow of urine, and ended up in accident and emergency, which is really not the best place to be diagnosed. And that's the second key fact, which is overall around 20% of cases of prostate cancer are diagnosed the same way as Johnny was, by pitching up in A&E rather than by being referred at an earlier stage when obviously outcomes are better and you spare yourself basically a miserable time presenting as an emergency. So off the back of the first concert that Johnny did, and Courtney Pine came and performed for us, and we did it in one of the concert halls in Birmingham. It was very striking. Prior to this, I'd always done outreach talks, and I found myself talking to things like Rotary clubs. And these are, if you like, people a bit like me, sort of slightly posh middle-class white people in the main, and very white audiences. And the striking thing about the music events was that not only did they raise money, which was the kind of primary intention, but they were excellent outreach opportunities. And it's very striking to me and to Johnny that there was really a lack of knowledge in the black community about this particular health risk that is disproportionately present. And so we did a whole series of music events and various other fundraisers, raised quite a lot of money. And in parallel with these, Johnny's wife, Leslie, was a trade union official with Unite, and they had a sort of health bus that went around bus depots and offered health checks. So we thought, well, why don't we use the money to raise and raise some more money to buy a sort of this thing which we've dubbed the Man Van, and we had a custom built. It took us some years to raise the money. Just before I left Birmingham 2 years ago, we actually managed to complete the purchase of this, and then A, I left Birmingham, so the plan was to move it down to London, and B, COVID happened, which has rather got in the way. So along the way, we broadened this out to doing a sort of more general men's health check. And the idea of the project is that we go to populations who typically or disproportionately have bad healthcare outcomes, in this case with prostate cancer. And rather than waiting for people to come to us with symptoms, we're offering checkups before you get to the point of needing us in an emergency. And so this is a pilot project currently operating, we've just started it through a partnership between the Royal Marsden Hospital, which is, you probably know, a famous cancer hospital in central and south London, Institute of Cancer Research, which is my employer, which is the Marsden's kind of research wing, which is actually part of the University of London, plus a consortium of the hospital trusts across southwest London, plus other partners like Unite. The trade union is still part of the partnership that we have with it. So it's as I said, it's a pilot project. What we're aiming to show is that by taking healthcare to people rather than waiting for people to come to us, we can change outcomes. And we want to focus on an area of prostate cancer where the outcomes are worse than they need to be. And we can't do anything about the increased risk of the cancer in black men, but we can potentially do something about the outcomes, which is what we want to do. Linked to it as well, and maybe we'll come back to this, is we want to do research into why these differences exist. Obviously, if you understand why, you can potentially improve your treatments as well. So we'll maybe come back to that. But I think I've probably spoken for long enough. I'll hand things back to you in this studio.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Nick James. for really highlighting those areas. Prostate cancer. Thank you for calling in. And I'm sure as you watch, we will be able to develop more questions. Dr. Masood, what's going on? Why are we suffering in this area of prostate cancer in the black community?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Bishop. We don't understand fully exactly what all of the reasons are. For sure, there is a genetic element. There is a genetic risk, but even that we don't understand that well enough. Part of the research that we're doing at the Marsden is to try and get more knowledge about this.
You see a tear coming out my eye. It's just my eyes are watering.
yeah.
But yes.
But yeah, it's a real shame. We know as Prof. James said, we know that the risk is higher, but it's harder to recruit black men to get into studies. It's harder.
But why? Why is it that the black men are finding it so difficult? Where we're dealing with something that can take us out and not coming forward to get tested. What do you think is going on?
There's not going to be one reason. It's going to be lots of different reasons. People are looking at this, in the UK, in America as well, where there are obviously large groups of Afro-Caribbean men. There's not going to be one reason. It's going to be things like not having enough knowledge about this, not having enough awareness. There can sometimes be a lack of trust. Sometimes people don't trust hospitals or just general health authorities because it's seen as part of the overall sort of government structure. Sometimes people are embarrassed to talk about these things. The thing particularly with prostate cancer is that it tends to affect things that are quite personal. So passing urine, sexual function, these sorts of things people don't.
Let's get it out there, Doctor.
Let's
get it out there.
Open it up. It's very personal. So what does it take for someone to sort of A, think about these things, and B, speak to someone, speak to a friend. It's not easy, but by opening it up, by talking more about it, hopefully you remove that stigma that's associated, and we get people talking about it, and then people say, oh, well, and if you've got something like that, if you're having problems passing urine, you should get yourself checked out.
Okay. I'm sure you're watching us, you'll know somebody who's not with us anymore because of prostate cancer. Doctor, I know you're going to be talking more about this, but Fanula, I want you to tell us, where is the prostate? And I don't want you to hold any bars back. I want us to go for this. And then, Doctor, you can just jump right back in. Where is the prostate? And tell us. We may even talk about what are the effects, how people feel, how they can see why it could be linked to their prostate.
It's a really good question. I think particularly as nurses and doctors, we generally say prostate cancer is a risk for men, but actually what is it? What is the purpose of this? So I brought along a little kind of model prostate, so I hope you can see it okay. So women don't have this organ, it's only in men. So this is the bladder.
Not even a woman equivalent?
No, it's different. So it's a reproductive organ for men, but it sits beneath the bladder. Yes. So the bladder is an organ that holds fluid, and as you need to pass water, it comes out the penis. Underneath the bladder is the prostate here. So the water pipe actually goes through the prostate. So if there's everything going on in the prostate, it can sometimes block off that passageway, meaning that people have difficulty passing urine.
So it swells.
It can swell, and that's actually a benign thing. So as men generally get older, that happens to a lot of men. That doesn't necessarily mean you've got prostate cancer, but you might have prostate issues. Again, something that your GP can always help you with as well. We can always look at ways to improve those symptoms. I'm sure if there's any women on the live stream, they know how many times their partners get up at night, and they can probably say, he's getting up 3 or 4 times a night, it keeps waking me up. And that's actually a sign that there might be a little bit of a slowdown of the fluid there. What prostate cancer is then is actually it's a change in the cell formation within the prostate. So it's a build-up of cancerous cells, which, if left undiagnosed or untreated, can eventually break away from the prostate, can go to other parts of the body, and then it's a much bigger problem, and that's actually a problem we can't cure.
What's the use of the prostate?
So the prostate it creates the fluid to enable semen production. So semen that is created during sex that is made within the prostate and brings in the sperm.
So it's part of the fluid.
The fluid, exactly.
That leads to
So it kind of puts the right components in that to ensure fertility works. So it's very useful, obviously, but as men get older, generally, that doesn't need to be quite as an important organ so much. So
if suppose the prostate's taken away, what's going to happen? Can you take away the prostate?
You can. It's a big operation to do that. And we do it for cancer. We wouldn't generally do it for anything else otherwise. There are some procedures we can do to help alleviate some of those symptoms I was saying about passing water quite a bit at night. But actually to have the prostate removed would be a big operation, and it mightn't benefit everybody as well. So what we tend to do is keep a close eye on some of the more the risk factors we look at, like we said, urinary symptoms. Sometimes men notice that their erectile function can change, and again, as men get older, that's common. But some people notice a drastic change, and sometimes that can be related to something going on in the urinary system too.
So, lack of an erection.
Yeah, it can be, and again, it's not always the case, but sometimes that can be. Things like if anybody had any blood in the urine or anything like that, we'd always keep a close eye, and that could indicate something else like a bladder cancer. So I think it's good to get talking about these symptoms, because most people, they see something going wrong, they don't pipe up. They might say it to their wives, or they might say it, probably mightn't say it to anybody else if even. And then I suppose we need to get that dialogue together to encourage men to then get that checked.
Well, let's look at this. How can I tell that there's something going on with my prostate? What are the symptoms? Could we just look at that again? It may be somebody watching right now that can identify with these symptoms. So, Dr. Nurse, tell us. Let's walk through these signs.
Yeah, I think the easiest one to talk about is in terms of problems passing urine, so waking up at night to pass urine. Waking up once is potentially not a problem, but if you're waking up 2, 3, 4 times more, it can indicate a problem.
Suppose you're drinking a lot of water.
Yeah, and that can be a reasonable reason why you might be waking up.
Right.
It could be because you're having too much coffee at night, too much tea at night.
Right.
There are lots of reasons. It doesn't obviously have to just be to do with prostate cancer, but that's where we come in.
Right.
We're, when someone comes to see us, we're able to talk through these things, and we ask these sorts of questions exactly like you said.
Yes.
We ask, how much do you drink? How much tea, coffee, fizzy drinks? These sorts of things make people pass urine more often. So we ask these sorts of questions to try and help determine whether we're worried about something or whether potentially it's not that worrying.
So getting up quite often at night.
That's one. Having to go more often during the day. Having to sort of go to the bathroom quickly. So if you feel like you can't hold it in.
Yeah.
And also when you get there, it doesn't all come out easily. So like it's quite a weak stream, it dribbles out, you have to force and push. Mm-hmm. These are all general symptoms of something being not quite right with the bladder or the prostate. So they're very general symptoms, but they're all, as Fionnuala said, they're all reasons why you might want to see your GP, and then they can talk through things and help determine if there's a problem.
So again, to encourage, and Fionnuala, I'm sure you can come in here.
Yeah.
We want to encourage men to go forward. Wives must play a part, I'm sure.
Definitely,
Partners play a part. But how can we bring this to the point? I mean, this is an avenue.
I think just to follow up on what Masood said is that you could have those symptoms, but actually generally people have no symptoms of this.
Hold on.
It's only when
No symptoms?
No symptoms. So this is quiet, it's going on. Some people can have absolutely, don't get up at night whatsoever.
Wow.
And we can only determine that there's something going on a blood test. So unfortunately, there is a big proportion of individuals that are in our clinics and they're fine. They don't feel anything. And sadly, we end up telling them that there's actually a cancer within their prostate.
Now, that's kind of worrying, isn't it?
It is,
If there's
isn't
nothing
it?
going on, then there's no need for anyone to make an inquiry about their health. But you're saying it could be like a silent killer.
Absolutely. And we know as men get older, so generally over the age of 50, but in black men we say over the age of 45, we would recommend you get your blood test with a GP. And that's called a PSA blood test.
PSA
So,
blood test.
Yeah.
Let me just pull this back again. I heard the ratio, 1 in 4. Help me to understand this. 1 in 4 black men will suffer from this. But you can't tell me why in the black man.
We don't know yet, and that's kind of, we touched on that earlier. We
I know.
are looking at kind of trials to assess that. What are those? Why is it that it's so disproportionate? And hopefully, when I sit across from you in a few years' time, Bishop, we can actually answer that question a bit better. Hopefully,
So is it going to take our community coming in and checking that you can begin to do that research?
Yeah, so we have trials looking at this right now. There's a trial being run at the Royal Marsden, which is to do with black men, and they're specifically trying to recruit them to study their genetics, to study what's different about their DNA. Obviously, it doesn't affect all black men,
Right.
but it's more common. So it means that there is a reason there. Part of what we're doing as well is to sort of drive awareness of this, to try and get as many people as possible into these trials.
Doctor, you mentioned something. I know I'm interjecting here, but you're saying this could be a part of genetics.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Not maybe, definitely.
definitely, yeah.
If dad had it, it's most likely son will
and you're at a much higher risk if a family member or your uncle or brother or anyone like that, it puts you at an even higher risk than your next door neighbour per se. And like that, it's about getting that dialogue for future generations, that when your sons and your nephews are older, that they're going to the GP to get their prostate checked.
Okay, tell you what, we're going to go for a break here, and I think this will be very wise. We have what we call the man van.
Yes.
I want you to give me a bit more details
Yeah.
about the man van, because I think it's absolutely excellent. I'm just going to ask the engineer just to run that VT for us. There's a man van that we're putting together. I mean, tell us about it. Tell us about this.
So it's essentially a converted camper van, so to speak, and we've changed it into a mobile health clinic, which we hope to take to certain parts of the community, targeting those areas that are higher risk, and offering men a free health check, similar to what you get at the GP, but a lot more targeted for things like prostate cancer, heart disease, diabetes. We'll look at all general health concerns, and then we'll link in to the Royal Marsden. If you need to see a doctor, we can get a really quick an appointment then, and if we need to get you to see your GP, we can speak to your GP and arrange that.
So what we're dealing with here today is an awareness, and prevention is better than cure.
Absolutely.
I don't know, you can see the picture. I don't know if we're going to run that VT. Are you running that VT at this moment for us?
The Man Van is a mobile clinic provided via a customised van with built-in clinic space to carry out nurse-led health assessments. The health assessments offered on the Man Van clinic are the same offered by GPs, covering major health issues such as hypertension, diabetes, prostate cancer, and an opportunity to advise on healthy lifestyles such as smoking cessation and alcohol consumption. The van will be parked in places of employment and other locations in the community, targeting men who are more at risk of certain diseases. We look forward to welcoming you onto the van in due course.
Viewers, you've just seen the Man Van. Absolutely fantastic. You can walk straight in there, have your blood test. They'll make sure that they'll follow you up. I mean, I think it's a marvelous bit of kit. And, you know, we're quite fortunate to have Nick still on the line. Nick, could you just talk us through this beautiful bit of kit, the Man Van, and what it has and how it can help us?
Yeah, it is a fantastic bit. Okay, we, as I said, we fundraised altogether. We raised about £500,000 in Birmingham from various things, from the concerts and from other things, and that was to pay for buying the van and then staffing it. In fact, the staffing that we've got at the moment has been funded separately. So at some point, we're aiming to do the original project in Birmingham as well as doing the one in Southwest London. And as you can probably see from the thing, it looks like a motorhome, and that's because that's what it is. We bought it from a company that takes motorhomes and then customises them from the NHS. So it was spec'd out to exactly what we needed. When it's driving around, it's a sort of van-size shaped thing. But when we're using it, the middle pops out the side, so that doubles the width of the business end of it, where we've got a clinic space, and it's split into two halves: a sort of reception area, and then there's a screen, and then there's not a clinical area, but it's not. It's an informal clinical area.
Quite relaxed.
So you're going to be sat there chatting to Fanoula or Masood or whoever. You're not going to be undergoing any ghastly invasive medical procedures, because the idea is that we want people to come forward. We don't want to make it an intimidating, unpleasant experience, and we don't need to do anything particularly invasive in order to find out the information that we need. The other thing I was going to say was a bit about the research side of things, because there's race is obviously an issue here, and one of the striking things about medical research just worldwide is that it's over white in terms of who gets studied, and there's multiple reasons for that, but part of the reason is that there's been a reluctance in the black community to take part in clinical trials, because there is some really bad history around black people being experimented on in America, particularly without their consent, and people are very well aware of that. So one of the things that we're trying to do by literally taking things to people directly is we want to reassure you that we're doing this for good reasons, not for bad reasons. We're aiming to correct imbalances that are working against you by understanding better why there's a higher rate of this cancer. It's not, there's other diseases that have different racial rates as well, but the prostate cancer one is particularly striking and is really not very well understood. And as Masood said, one of the things we're doing is we have studies ongoing at the Marsden and the ICR at the moment, is we're building up DNA collections from different groups of people to try and understand what the similarities are, because most of our DNA is very similar, but also what the key differences are that might drive differences in outcome. And so we see this as an important equity of access to good quality medical knowledge, and part of that is generating new knowledge in order to understand things better.
Nick, I just wanted to get in there. Nick, tell us about the procedure, because maybe men in the past was very kind of reluctant to maybe have a finger in the rear end. And they're saying, if I'm going to get my prostate checked, I don't want that happening to me. So maybe that could be a stigma why they didn't come for it. What's changed about it now, Nick?
It's certainly a factor. We're not going to do a rectal exam in the van. So the key things we'll be taking a history around urinary symptoms, and are you passing water more frequently with difficulty, and other related things like erectile dysfunction. It's worth saying that most of the causes of erectile dysfunction are not prostate cancer. The commonest cause is cardiovascular disease, for example. But if you have that as a problem, then we may well be wanting to signpost you to have your blood pressure checked and other stuff around your heart health. So we're using it as an opportunity to address other health issues as well as prostate cancer. And we've got a little machine in the van, which I'm not quite sure what audiovisual stuff you've got there. It's about the size of a desktop printer, and a couple of finger pricks of blood, and we can measure your PSA level, and we'll be double checking that against a proper reading in the lab as well. So if you've got either a collection of symptoms or a strong family history, plus particularly if you've got the ethnic risk as well, plus a raised PSA, any number of various combinations of that, we can arrange further investigations through the hospital. And in the main, that is a scan, an MRI scan. We don't necessarily, obviously at some point, if we think you've got something wrong with your prostate, we're going to have to stick a needle in it. But that's the last bit of the diagnostic pathway, and we're only going to be doing that if it looks like we need to. So although in the past it's been associated with rectal exams, we think it probably puts off more people than the limited benefit we get from doing it in terms of extra assessment.
So Nick, this is really, we've seen on the screen, people are really engaging and finding this absolutely excellent. So this works 2 ways or 3 ways or 4 ways, because you walk through the door and you might just be able to find something else, like hypertension.
Absolutely.
Diabetes.
That's the plan. We'll do a full general health check, and not just physical health, but actually your mental health. And we can assist with things like trying to quit smoking, maybe reduce down your alcohol consumption, that sort of thing. So I think, like Nick said, it's a very relaxed atmosphere. We've got a nice couch. There's no computer screen. We're sitting on a couch together chatting like we are now. It's a really, really relaxed environment to speak about any health concerns you have. Okay,
look, we've just got Coral Pitter, Colombia. She says, what age should a man start to get checked? What age?
So it's usually around the age of 50, but we'd say slightly younger if you're
really?
If you're of Afro-Caribbean background, so 45. Obviously, if you've got symptoms and you're having problems, then it doesn't matter what age you are, you should get yourself checked out. But that doesn't necessarily mean getting checked out for prostate cancer. But specifically in terms of prostate cancer, around 45, 50. So,
gentlemen, you're here. You should be checking at least from the age of 45. And could this be an MOT on a yearly basis?
Yeah, and I think that's one thing we tell our patients is that everything looks great, but that's not to say things won't change in a year's time. Go to your GP and make sure that this is a regular thing, because we do need to check in as we get older. Our body parts get older too. We need to make sure everything is still working okay. But we can get the ball rolling with things. We, like I said, will check things like blood pressure, things like diabetes that can go unnoticed for a very long time. And if they go unnoticed, they become a much bigger problem. So it's about really getting everything very early on and making a big change.
I'm really excited about doing this. And let me just take a slight little break here. Many of you have heard me preach. I'm not saying I'm the best preacher in the world, but I love to rightly divide the word of God. But I'm going to tell you this. If one life can be saved by this awareness, this coming Sunday, working alongside doctors, nurses, and professors in this field, and a life has been saved, I'm just going to say, in my layman terms, thank God. Because I can still see myself preaching the gospel. I'm not just saving their soul, I'm also saving their lives. And I think we need to come out of the four walls in ministry and attack it. Begin to make friends. And I'm so proud. I made friends with a doctor, a nurse, and a professor who's educated me. And again, I thank God for the two bishops, Bishop Ola and Bishop Stella, who said, Bishop, could you help us to make this an awareness? I'm looking for 100 men. Sunday morning, that's what I'm hoping. We'll walk through those doors, be educated, and get checked. I can see something here from Cecile Nicholson Hall. How are you defining the black man? How are you defining the black? How are you defining the black man? Is it from all communities? Maybe Asian communities, or?
Yeah, it's so we're specifically interested in the Afro-Caribbean population mainly. Prostate cancer specifically doesn't tend to affect Asian men as commonly, but at the same time there are other conditions that do. So, for example, diabetes does affect men from the subcontinent more. and that's part of our overall package. That we're driving the knowledge about prostate cancer, but also diabetes, blood pressure, because these are also really important issues that affect men.
Well, I'm interested. Nick, if you're still on the line, so you're really saying it's an issue. Thank you, Cecile. A real issue in the black community. I'm alarmed by that. That's why I think, very passionate in doing this. Because if you get rid of the black man, and please understand where I'm coming, we've got too much wealth of information in the grave.
Yeah.
Education. I say this all. If you think education is expensive, wait for the bill for ignorance.
Yeah. No, absolutely, and so education is, the health tests are an important part of this. But I mean, as I was saying, the genesis of this was the concerts we did with Johnny and his friends basically, and I think I might have shown you photos, but you'll see the audiences are substantially black. And what I noticed after we did the very first one of those was people were turning up in my clinics because they'd gone and had a blood test and thought, actually, because they had the sorts of symptoms that we were mentioning in the concerts, and we weren't doing great long lectures in the concerts. I was just chatting for 5 to 10 minutes between acts, and awareness straight away allows people to have access to their doctors. But one of the things we've seen over the last 2 years is we've seen a drop in referrals in general for cancer, because people have been scared of coming to the GP or found it difficult to get to the GP.
Could you repeat that again, Nick? Sorry to interject. Are you telling me you've seen a drop in referrals?
Yep. And what we're seing is, I've got a guy who's in my clinic at the moment. So he's a Jamaican guy, and he'd been sort of having symptoms for about a year, and he said, I just couldn't get to see my GP because of COVID. The place was essentially shut, and they were just offering online things, and he could never get an appointment because you've got to phone up first thing, and you know how difficult it can be sometimes. And he'd eventually pitched up with a cancer that had spread, and if we picked it up, like my friend Johnny, who sadly died a few years ago now, at an earlier stage, he'd have had a much better outcome than he will probably have now. And so it's not just about awareness, but it's about giving people access. And what we're seeing with COVID is that people are finding it more difficult to access their doctor because the health service is busy with other stuff, doing vaccinations and so on. So the problem is partly people don't know what to look out for, don't know what to do if they've got symptoms, or they think, it's just old men's problems, I don't need to do anything about it. But it's partly people just struggle to get access to their doctors as well. So, and disproportionately, that affects people from ethnic minorities and so on, from the black community. So there's a sort of social dimension to this as well as an education dimension to it, if you like. Okay,
Nick, you're really raising good issues here. I've got somebody here. I don't know if our technician could just scroll it up a bit. It's from Artem Simpson. And it says, is there a reason why the disease is so prevalent among black men, i.e., or for example, their lifestyle, can't see that, genetics, social economics, and background, etc.?
So, yes, and it's probably a bit of all of those. So we don't really understand the obvious things like smoking aren't particularly associated with prostate cancer. There are links with diet, but it's quite hard to figure out exactly what that is. Genetics appears to be important. Just straightforwardly, having a very dark skin may be important, because the explanation is a bit complicated for this, but basically one of the things your skin does is it converts the vitamin D in your diet into active vitamin D, and vitamin D helps protect you against certain cancers. Now, if you're living in the rather drizzly, wet, cold environment, which is the UK, you don't get enough sunshine on your skin. to convert vitamin D if you have
hold on,
very
Nick.
dark skin.
Nick,
Because
Nick, sorry. I mean, you really, please jump in. In our skin, we got what we call the melanin.
yes, exactly that. Yeah, it may be a direct relation to the darkness of your skin, protecting your skin from strong sunlight in an environment where there isn't strong sunlight. It may be actually inhibiting your ability of your skin to do other things that it needs to do. And because you have a dark skin, you kind of have a need for more sunlight, which you obviously, when the weather's like it is at the moment in Britain, you're not going to go out with your t-shirt and shorts on, are you?
This is amazing, Nick. Absolutely amazing what you're telling me here. That means that we need to get on a plane more often and get to sunnier climes.
Yes,
because Nick,
yeah.
I mean, education, it makes sense. Thank you, Arsene. It makes sense. We could go on this. This is so important. And that's what I'm saying. Coming out of the four walls. Yes, we read the Bible. I'm a Christian and I love it. But look how much I've learned by just opening up the pulpit. Doctor, I want you to look at the screen and tell them how important this is. Encourage a man in another attitude to speak. Look in the camera and just speak to them. Tell people the importance of getting your prostate checked.
Yeah, I think, if you have any concerns, something doesn't feel right, some part of your body's not working like it used to, something's different, just speak to someone. We've seen, me, Fanula, Prof, we've seen men coming in when the cancer's already spread.
Wow.
And you can help them to some extent, but you can't do what you really need to do, which is to try and cure them. And that's really sad. And if you could catch them maybe a few months early, maybe a few years early, then you could stop that from happening. And if that was you or one of your loved ones, then of course you would want that. So just reach out. We're trying to do our small bit with the Man Van and talking with the local communities, talking with the bishop, but just reach out and ask for help.
And I think it's as simple as getting a blood test done. So it's seeing your GP, and any man over the age of 50 is entitled to have this blood test. So you won't get any pushback, but you should have that discussion with your GP, the pros and cons of having it, and if you want it, you can have it. And that's all it takes, is we can figure out a whole lot from that, and we could give you a full bill of health, or we can make the arrangements for you to see a specialist. So it's a very small thing for you to do that may have a huge impact for you and your family.
Here we go. I don't know. I'm taking a sigh because I'm just saying this thing is real. Can you imagine you seeing patients and maybe you're saying in your head, if only they'd taken a check sooner. We are appealing to you watching this. Here's what's going to happen. I'll tell you, you're really feeling this, and it's great. We can see everybody writing at this moment. Where will the van be? Now, I'm going to be open. I'm going to be honest with you. We're working the van out. We wanted the van to be outside the church, and this is just news off the press. But we're doing our utmost best because obviously we've got to get it from one place to the next. But we're telling you now, on the 16th of January, at the Good Shepherd's Church in Norfolk Road, our service starts from 9 till 11. This service is going to be different. Never seen a service like it. We're going to worship, and then what we're going to be doing is ensuring I, Pastor Raymond, Bishop Ola, Bishop Steph, will turn the service over to the professionals. They'll be going in more depths, and more men will be asking those questions they've always wanted to ask. What we will be doing, we're not holding back. Whatever the question might be, you might think it's silly, it's strange, or slightly embarrassing. You are going to be in a position where you're going to be feeling at liberty to talk. What we're going to do, and here's the professionals, they're going to take your name, your address, and what they're going to make sure is that they will make sure we can point you in the right direction. So it is our heart's desire to get that van. We're still working on it. It's a big van. It's massive, and it's trying to find a place big enough. I don't want to go into too much details, but I know where there's a will, there is a way.
Yeah. And the van will be in an area soon, so we're targeting Croydon, Sutton, South London. So it may not be there on Sunday, but it'll be in an area very soon. But we'll take the details and we'll get an appointment booked no matter where the van is.
We're going to make sure. And things happen. But I'm saying at the end of the day, we will have the professionals talking to us and sharing. Dr. Nick, professional, will be there as well.
That's the plan.
Awesome. So the service is going to be like no other. But this is your opportunity to come. Get yourself registered to get your check. And I'm going to tell you this on camera. I'm going to get my check as well. I'm going to have to lead by example. And who knows? This service could change someone's life. Somebody might say in the street, Bishop Martin Nicholson, thank you. Shakes my hand and says, listen, if I didn't take a check, I don't know where I would be in a year's time. It was just waiting to explode, but I took your advice. Listen to the professionals. Prostate cancer exists. It's killed thousands of people. It most likely have killed loved ones that you miss dearly. Prevention is better than cure. And we're doing our utmost best to ensure that we take responsibility as a community, putting church on the side, as a community to address this issue, but work primarily with the professionals. Doctor, thank you.
Thank you.
You know, when I was growing up, I wanted to be a doctor.
That's still time. Still young.
But I'm honored. Finola, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
For coming in and being so open and sharing with us. And Professor Nick James, thank you for being on the line with us and to giving us that so valuable information that we need as men to get checked. Now, just bow your heads where you are at this moment. I'm going to be just straightforward as we always finish. We want to thank you, Lord, and I'm going to be praying right now for the NHS. Let me just say something. We've been through a time of COVID, and it's the NHS that's held us together. Like it or not, I would never, ever smash or bash our NHS under the extreme pressures that they've undergone. I was one that got out there and clapped my hands. Father, I thank you for the NHS. I thank you for their resentful, the way they have worked so hard, dedicated, thorough, putting their own lives on the line. I pray, Father, all those that have worked so hard, tirelessly, strengthen them. We appreciate them for their hard work through that serious time of COVID. And Father, I thank you for this moment that we're able to work together in this moment and time on another issue to help our community. Father, I can only say thank you for Professor Nick. Thank you for Dr. Masood. Thank you for Finola, Father. Thank you. And that's from my heart. They could be somewhere else, but they came today to educate us, and to bring awareness of the importance of prostate cancer. And Father, on the 16th, I pray that we'll see men come from the north, the east, the south, and the west, coming to be tested. And more importantly, that lives will be saved. So Father, we thank you for tonight. I want to thank you for the patience of the saints. I want to thank you for patience of people hanging on through the difficulties of the technical issue, and that you're still with us now. Father, we look forward to that event on the 16th. We pray that this, in a sense, will go viral. People will say, yeah, that was something else. I've learned things I've never learned before. And then they will come out in their numbers to be tested. We thank you, Father. We give you praise. In Jesus' name. Amen. Well, there you are. We've done it. I feel so good. I've been educated, directed, and I'm sitting in good company. Nick, we're grateful to you.
Yeah, I'm sorry not to be with you, but I'm coming to the thing on Sunday, so I'm looking forward to seeing you in person then. Yes.
Thank you, Nick, for being with us today. Thank you both. I've learned so much.
Thank you for
having
having
us.
us.
And I hope you, in the viewers, you were blessed. Thank you. And join us next week. And remember, we're looking for you on Sunday. We're going to put the details up on my Facebook page, on Acts Facebook page. Come out in your numbers. And you know what? It would be good to have wives come out as well. And partners.
Definitely, yeah.
Come out as well. Come and learn. Because I think wives, partners can be a way of encouraging their partners to get checked. So thank you for joining us, and please, if you're joining us for the first time, why not subscribe? Why not be a part of what we're doing? Get the notifications every time you come on. You'll get a notification from us. You know we deal with this. This ministry deals with every issue out there because we want to be relative. Remember, we're the head and not the tail. Thank you so much for joining us. God bless. See you Saturday. Oh, Sunday. See you Sunday. It happens. Live TV. So excited. Yeah. See you Sunday. God bless you.
Thank you. Cheerio.
Good
Thanks
night.
very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Christian Church, where you're the head and not the tail.